All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, all. You have found the right place. Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
Hello and good morning, everybody. It's the Mark Thompson Show. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I was feeling fine until we went on the air. I've got a lot of stuff to get to today. A follow-up from yesterday's show. Many of you have come here from, and I want to welcome all of you who are indeed from the Young Turks, everybody. A lot of TYT people. I've received email and comments. TYT is a place I've done political commentary for 20 years, even as I was doing other stuff. And I love my brothers and sisters at TYT, and a lot of you come here from TYT. KGO is where we were born. Our genesis story is as a radio show. And Kim is here today.
Kim, how are you?
She was the stalwart news person at KGO. And Tony joins me.
Tony.
Having brought the show over from KGO to this new world of YouTube. So smash the like button.
Smash it with
and
your
let's
iron
do this
rod.
thing. Yeah, my jam is on. We've got Jefferson Graham coming in. He gives us the deal on CES, you know, the Consumer Electronics Show, the new jillion-dollar 3-story television set or whatever. A lot of the stuff every year at CES is, look how big and bright and beautiful my television set is. TV monitor. How about it for Ren 0287? I'm loving it.
Out of the box with a $10 super sticker? What?
Out of the box is my favorite way to be out.
Why are you yelling?
Send along some of our dry January savings. Exactly.
Nice.
All of you who are drying out in January, how about a 10 spot from Ren?
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Ren. Also, if you're new to the show, we're crowdfunded, so we do visit the super stickers, super chats, PayPal, and Patreon. Best way to support this show. So if there's stuff here you think, well, they have good takes, they have good guests, they have good conversation, we have fun, then you can throw us a monthly and keep us on the air. That's the weird thing that's different from radio. You know, I'm used to, on KGO Radio, on KFI Radio in Los Angeles, you just come up with content. You don't need to worry about actually getting advertisers or getting financial support. You just worry about content. Worry about getting guests. Worry about finding a story. They go, wow, we should talk about this. Making your show a clearinghouse for a lot of stuff that's important. Here, you've got to do that, and you've got to shake the audience down for help. So that's what we do. So big shout out to Ren.
Big shout out.
And thank you for that super sticker to get us going. There's a new configuration to the studio in the new year. I don't like it at all. I used to be able to look right here and see the comments, and I could monitor them and then react to them. Now they're over there. And so I have really no sense of what's happening with comments. And then depending on what kind of mood Tony and Kim are in, I may or may not see a comment. You know what I'm saying? So I need to...
Just going to have to trust us.
I need you and Tony to be... First of all, I don't like to block people, as you know, even people who disagree with us, even Trumpers or whatever.
No, I'm going to block people.
I know, but like... who was MAGA Mickey, you know, the...
Trump 2024!
Yeah, Trump 2024!
Trump 2024!
So if you guys, if crazy MAGA Mickey shows up in the chat or anybody else, we'll, I would let them through. Kim is in the lifeguard chair. She can be a lot tougher. Tony doesn't care. One of the great things about Tony is that he's a very laid back. If you don't know him, he's very quiet. That's why you don't see him a lot. And he's not super chatty. You know what I mean? He kind of works his magic as a technical dude.
Right.
But if you want to see Tony super chatty, only have to mention the new Godzilla movie.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so
He
good.
is crazy.
I love it.
He's so crazy for the new Godzilla movie. He has seen the new Godzilla movie more than twice.
What?
Yes. How many times have you seen the new Godzilla movie, Tony?
3. And I'm going to go
3.
one more time before it leaves theaters.
Oh, my.
Was it something one? Monster one? What's it called?
Godzilla -1.
-1, yeah.
Godzilla -1. Now, this Godzilla, I'm told, was done and produced by the Japanese, who,
it's Toho.
of course, gave you the original Godzilla. So, have you noticed? Don't you think I mean, that's the pedigree that there should be, right, Tony? It should be a Japanese company that does it.
I agree.
I mean, that's the
Legendary
origin story of
hasn't done-
Godzilla. Yes.
I haven't liked the Legendary ones. They're not for me. I try to watch them and I'm like, I don't like them. So
Now, why do you like this Godzilla? In a moment, and then I have other stuff to get to. We're, the Earth's
really
being
quickly,
poisoned. The former president's trying to overthrow the government. I've got stuff to do. But if you could just let me know about Godzilla.
because both the monster story is good and the human story is really good. Like, you really care about the human characters in it. It's a really, really well done period piece because it's all set in post-war Japan.
No,
like right
that's
after the war.
cool.
And it's
Kim, is it too violent for Kim's kids, Tony?
I don't think so. There's not
Is
really
there blood
any,
and gore and guts and beheadings and nastiness?
No. Only right at the beginning, it's a little intense with the first kind of thing, but that's it. After that, it's all subtitled though. So do your kids want to read? Because it is a movie in Japanese.
Let's see. How can I make my kids read?
Yeah, that would be.
Gotcha. Good. Excellent.
As I tried to, as an atheist, I don't believe in Godzilla, says Walter. That's very,
But
very, very
I
well
think it's a
done.
very good movie. Like, I totally all in for these characters and stuff, and it very well done.
So it's interesting. Tony responded to the character development in the new Godzilla. That's interesting. Not what.
Oh, but his atomic breath is so good. That's probably one of the best versions I've ever seen of it. Is the explosive heat breath. And it kind of links back to the original 1954, kind of in its original idea, and kind of the way they do stuff. It's little things that are back to the 54 version too.
I agree with Tony, says Louis. And then there's a question from Phineas, and that question is: Tony, did Ultraman make a cameo?
No, it was Jet Jaguar, and no.
Wow.
Ultraman was a different franchise. It was Jet Jaguar in the Godzilla movies.
Jeez. Very,
Dee
very
shed
impressive.
some tears over this movie. Wow.
Yes. There might have been a moment or two where it was like, wow, that's...
Well, Snyder liked this movie. The Culture Blaster did like this movie. I loved hearing the classic Godzilla theme song, said Dee Jones.
She did the who did the soundtrack? I can't give her name. Perfect.
Well, you can Google it and find
Google it.
I mean,
Well, okay.
if you care in it. Look, I loved it, and you see, Kim, what I told you.
Yeah.
Tony, all of a sudden, he's Gabby.
alive.
Yeah, yeah, very excited when you get him on something.
no,
he
I'm
wants
not a
to talk
nerd,
about.
not at all.
Yeah, Tony's knowledge of Godzilla is stunning. His knowledge of a lot of things is
I
stunning.
might have rewatched all 37 of them
heavens.
before watching this movie.
What?
All right, guys.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I've got the hair is all a little weird with you got.
You look fantastic.
Well,
It's a
thank you. Well, thank
big
you.
day on the Mark Thompson Show. We have lots of guests. It's a David Cay Johnston day.
It's David Cay Johnston in the second hour, the Pulitzer
Yeah.
Prize winner, best-selling author. I mentioned Jefferson Graham talking about CES, and we have another author on in the second hour, right, Kim? Tell us about her.
Yeah, she wrote this book called Tigerbelles, and it's the story of this group of Black women that started at a college as a track team and ended up winning the Olympics. It's called Tigerbelles. That's the
Well, and the key
beginning
is
part
that
of
they were
Mhm.
African American, weren't they? Weren't they
Right,
Black?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought I said Black women. Yeah.
Oh, did you? I'm so sorry.
But it was against the backdrop
Obsessing.
of the Jim Crow South and trying to overcome racism at the same time, trying to get to the Olympics. So a really good story. The book is called Inspiring, and not only a good sports book, but just a good book about culture and what our country went through. So yeah, it'll be good.
Anyway, she'll join us second hour. So we do have a lot to get to. Of course, Donald Trump's case before the Supreme Court. We'll get to that. Follow up in stories from the sky that will just make your head explode. And a trailblazing new study. In fact, I think I'm going to start with this. It feels as though it is news you should have. So let's get going.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's a new study, and researchers discovered something that I suppose won't come as a huge surprise to you. Bottled water sold in stores can contain 10 to 100 times more bits of plastic than previously estimated. They're nanoparticles, as they're called. They're so infinitesimally tiny, and infinitesimally is a clean ding word, that they cannot be seen under a microscope. At 1,000th the average width of a human hair, nanoplastics are so teeny tiny, to use the scientific term, that they can migrate through the tissues of the digestive tract even the lungs into the bloodstream, distributing potentially harmful synthetic chemicals throughout the body and into cells, according to experts. 1 liter of water, the equivalent of 2 standard-sized bottled waters, contained in this research an average of 240,000 plastic particles from 7 types of plastics, of which 90% were identified as nanoplastics, and the rest were microplastics. Now, microplastics are polymer fragments that can range from like 0.2 of an inch down to 1/25,000th of an inch.
Drink up, kids.
Anything smaller than that is called a nanoplastic, okay? So you have microplastics and nanoplastics. Both of them are really small. The super small one is a nanoplastic. The body of work that was put into this apparently was insanely profound. I would call it groundbreaking, said Sam Mason, Director of Sustainability at Penn State in Erie, Pennsylvania. The new finding reinforces long-held expert advice to drink tap water from the glass or stainless steel containers to reduce exposure. And that advice extends to other food and drinks packaged in plastic. People don't think of plastics as shedding, but they do, said this researcher. In almost the same way we're constantly shedding skin cells, plastics are constantly shedding little bits that break off. Like when you open that plastic container for your store-bought salad or a cheese that wrapped in plastic, there is shedding going on. I'll post a summary of this study to my Twitter feed.
I have scientific concerns. I wonder if there's shedding going on when you put food in a Ziploc bag. I would imagine it's the same thing, right?
I think there's shedding going on all the time when food or other elements like other things like water or whatever it might be. When that's in contact with plastic, it's picking bits of that plastic up. I think that's the point. You may say, well, I get avian water, Mark, or I get Poland water, or please, Mark, I get spring water. Well, you'll still be interested in this. Again, this will be in the Journal of the National Academy of Sciences. There are new ways, and this is a kind of a scientific thing, but there are new ways that researchers can count the particles. So that becomes a key part of this, a new way to analyze the chemical structure of plastics that are in the liquid, if you want to think of it that way. So that's one part of the study, but they were able to see millions of nanoparticles in the water, which could not be seen before. And they found in every brand of water, they found all of these nanoparticles. Instead of 300 per liter, which had been sort of the advertised amount, The team behind this latest study found the actual number of plastic bits in 3 popular brands of water sold in the United States. Instead of 300 per liter, the number was 110,000 and 370,000, if not higher.
Gross.
So it's gross, and the dangers to human health substantial. You have
can we talk a minute?
You have endocrine disrupting chemicals. You know these what do they call them? Phthalates or BPA. They're right.
So that was going to be my question. So okay, we know that we have these tiny particles coming from our food that's touched plastic and water. What do those tiny particles do to us?
They can be carried to your liver, your kidney, your brain. They even cross the placental boundary in pregnant women.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's really probably. In studies of pregnant mice, researchers have found plastic chemicals in the brain, heart, liver, kidney, and lungs of the developing baby.
Oh, God, what are we doing to ourselves?
And it happened 24 hours after the pregnant mother ingested or breathed in plastic particles. This is all part of this new comprehensive study. This is something that we've talked about on this show before. I mean, I understand I'm a tree hugger, so I tend to talk about this stuff maybe a little bit more, but the toxification of the environment is something I feel very strongly about. And we are moving ahead pell-mell with that toxification. You see these ridiculous plastic bottles that we all have, and I do too. When there's no option, you have to get that plastic bottle at the airport or whatever. You can bring the empty metal bottle and use the water fountain there, but just an airport is one example. Yeah. But we are inundated with these, primarily because it was viewed as a huge commercial opportunity to be exploited. Instead of having tap water offered to people, you give them this bottled water and you charge them these insane amounts for it. You even find it in restaurants. Anyway, these plastics are all bad news.
It is frustrating because, as Billy comments here, yes, Mark, the food is touching your plastic. The least of your worries. The plastic's in the environment. It's everywhere. It's in the ocean. It's in the air. Then Phineas says, yeah, and the lead's in our chocolate. I mean, honestly, it's every time you turn around, there's something horrible happening.
Well, here's the reason yes and yes. But here's the reason I would make a distinction. Chocolate you can avoid. Water you cannot.
Truth.
We need water, and then they talk about how you need to hydrate all the time and how important hydration is and all these things, but you're essentially toxifying your own physical environment. So, I listen, there's a lot of research that still has to be done, but, the early research is not cool, and I'd love to see some legislative action. I always felt that, when you're growing up, I completely bought the myth of American exceptionalism, that somehow our government, our leaders, our scientists would work together to protect us from a lot of these toxic things that are in the environment, in the water, in the air, etc. Now I realize, no, actually, our country is behind in terms of a lot of that regulatory stuff. So Europe is way ahead of us. But in both places, Europe and America, and all over the West, you have this insane proliferation of these plastic bottles. That is just one area, given the fact that it's everywhere, it's just one area that should be, in my judgment, much more heavily regulated. But I'll post the study to my Twitter feed, and you can read more. The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
By the way, speaking of Twitter feeds, did you tweet today, Kim, that we're on the air?
I know, but we did have a discussion yesterday about possibly scheduling tweets to go out. And
I see.
You were going to look into that. So do you want me to tweet? Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, I can do it now. I mean, okay. I'll do it. I mean, I guess I'll do it. I mean, I don't know why I can't
I'm sorry, was
get
that
a little tweet help? I mean,
you do this to me all the time.
Every goddamn day, I got to ask for somebody else to tweet for me to go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood.
And I don't like it. And where are those pictures I was supposed to?
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
Anyway.
No one told me that was part of my and other duties as assigned category.
It's not. I can do it while I'm talking to you. That's how easy it is. Everybody talks like, oh, I got a tweet. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm like. It's like a 4-hour project.
Yesterday I did it and I did it wrong.
Yeah, well, you didn't put the link in.
See, always something with you.
I don't.
Why are you yelling?
All right, look, let's settle down. Meantime, I do have a follow-up story from yesterday.
No picnic, no summer camp.
I mean, it's
Kim. How are you?
It's tough, Kim. You know, yeah. I mean, it's not all ha ha la la.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like over on Nikki's show, but it strikes me as a little more ha ha la la than
it is ha ha la la. That's exactly right.
We're not ha ha la la here. Okay, no. We're not at all. And if that's what you want. Ha ha la la. Well, you're in the wrong place. All right. So
why are you yelling?
All right.
So noted.
Okay. I'd like to, Tony, if I can ask you to do a follow-up on something we talked about yesterday, and that was problems with air carriers. Okay. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
We would do that story in this segment. We call it Stories from the Sky.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
Yesterday, we kind of x-rayed the situation at Boeing. We told you about the fact that there were structural problems in the fuselage of a lot of these Boeing aircraft. Even the assembly line that was chosen to build these fuselages for Boeing, that's in Kansas, I believe, they've had all kinds of quality control issues. So I shared all of that with you yesterday. If you're curious, you can go back. We dropped that as a separate video. But those issues were relevant in the Alaska Airlines incident in which the door blew off. Now, United Airlines is saying that it has found loose bolts during its inspections of its 737 MAX 9 fleet in the wake of the door plug getting blown out of that Alaska Airlines plane over the weekend. This happened after we got off the air yesterday, and I just wanted to share it as a way to maybe button out a little bit of this story. Monday evening, Alaska Airlines said that initial inspections of its 737 MAX 9 fleet revealed, quote, some loose hardware visible on some aircraft.
What?
Man, they do soft pedal a lot of stuff there.
What?
Right.
Whose job was that? That's what I want to know.
Who is checking the loose hardware? Any findings, that they go on, this is a quote, will be fully addressed in a manner that satisfies our safety standards and FAA compliance. Quote, the safety of these aircraft is our priority, and we will take the time and steps, blah, blah, blah. The blah, blah, blah part I just threw in, but it is really.
Apparently the bolt guy was sick that day.
The bolt, they only have one bolt guy. They may need to...
they might need a second bolt guy.
Hire back some
behind
backup.
The first bolt guy and verify that the bolts are right.
Look, we have Tony and Albert. If Tony can't make it, Albert can step in.
Right?
I mean, if we had a loose bolt problem, we'd even get a third person.
We can't tweet, but we could do the bolts.
Since we began preliminary inspections on Saturday, they say, we have found instances, this is a more relevant, to the real problem, quote, we have found instances that appear to relate to installation issues in the door plug. For example, bolts that needed additional tightening. These findings will be remedied by our tech ops team to safely return the aircraft to service. The FAA, of course, grounded all the 737 MAX 9s because of this Alaska Airlines incident. United Airlines saying that because of the emergency inspections, it canceled 200 MAX 9 flights yesterday. And they expect what they call significant cancellations today as well.
Thank God. Who wants to fly on the loose bolt plane?
Yeah.
No thanks. Cancel that flight.
Good news and bad news. Good news is I got you your upgrade. You're in first class.
The bad news, you might be sucked out of the bolt.
Are you know anything about bolts? Could you check the bolts on the way in? That is Stories from the Sky.
This has been Stories from the Sky. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, and you are now free to move about the cabin.
maybe your flight has been canceled and you're watching us from an airport somewhere in this great nation. So if you are, smash the like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Share this show and subscribe. I think it, Tony, I don't follow this stuff, but yesterday when we talked about the fact we were closing in on 19,000, I looked and you said we were 22 short of 19,000.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah, and now I look and I see that I think we lost a couple of subscribers.
You lost one.
Oh, no.
We lost a subscriber.
We lost one.
I don't know.
That was 22 away.
I'm just saying it's a little
Getting
bit
farther away.
What happened?
I don't know.
Somebody's like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Who can I blame? Tony, is there anyone I can blame? I mean,
y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Maybe that was
climate change. We can play climate change.
Yeah, climate change.
Microplastics. We got a list.
I bet they failed to use a torque wrench on the bolts, says Gordon.
It sounds like they didn't use a wrench at all.
It was a torque wrench issue, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Unsubscribing is bad karma, says Ricky.
Yeah.
Ricky is a Hall of Fame supporter. You know, they're different within Hall of Fame. They're Hall of Fame contributors.
Yeah.
And then they're Hall of Fame supporters who support in different ways. Like if you're a super sharer of this show, if you're a super commenter, you achieve Hall of Fame status in different ways. And Ricky is in that way. He is a super supporter of the show. So Ricky, with a big shout out. Also comments on a lot of stuff after the videos drop, which does help us too. Any comments you have on videos after the fact help us along the way. All right. Kim's News and the great Jefferson Graham joins us. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. There are winter storms blanketing much of the country, with more than 40 states right now under blizzard warnings, also wind, snow, flood alerts. Forecasters say the Midwest seems to be getting hit the worst, with snow stranding people on highways. But in Florida, pictured here along the Panhandle, also parts of Alabama and Georgia, they are dealing with intense rain, possible tornadoes. It's rough out there. This in Florida. Look at those houses just tumbling on top of each other.
Wow.
A federal appeals court is considering former President Trump's claim of immunity from prosecution on charges that he illegally tried to overturn the 2020 election. During a hearing today, appeals court judge Florence Pan asked a Trump lawyer whether a president would be immune for having taken a bribe or ordering a SEAL team, like SEAL Team 6, to murder a political rival. Trump lawyer D. John Sauer said a president would need to be impeached and convicted first. So, okay. I guess
I was listening to those oral arguments, this morning, for much of the morning, and it just seems, it's a bit tiresome, but what I would suggest is that based on the questioning, it would seem as though they're going to rule against Trump. I mean, we'll talk to David Cay Johnston, who's a, legal lecturer internationally and knows this Trump case inside and out, and has commented himself on this. But based on these arguments, some of which I presume he's heard this morning, I can't imagine that they're going to side with Trump. And I also have Trump comments, so we'll play a bit of what Donald Trump said stepping out of the courtroom. Again, all of that with David Cay Johnston coming up.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Ron DeSantis, because unfortunately, a new poll could spell trouble for the Florida governor ahead of this key 2024 presidential primary. The University of New Hampshire survey finds support for DeSantis among likely GOP voters is only at 5%. The survey shows former President Trump leads the field with a backing of 39%, followed by Nikki Haley at 32%. Again, DeSantis at 5%. So,
Yeah, I think Iowa's going to, speaking of shedding the plastics, I think we'll be shedding some candidates by the end of New Hampshire, certainly.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like it. Let's go to Meta because they're taking new steps to keep harmful content from reaching teens on Facebook and Instagram. The tech giant said it wants to create more age-appropriate experiences on their apps in a blog post. According to Meta, topics like suicide, eating disorders will be blocked from appearing in young users' feeds and stories, even if the content was posted by someone that they follow. In Los Angeles, City Councilman Curran Price is pleading not guilty to 10 corruption-related charges. On Monday, Price pleaded not guilty to theft by embezzlement, perjury, and conflict of interest. He is accused of knowingly voting on projects involving developers connected with his wife's consulting firm.
This guy seems pretty dirty. I don't know.
Prosecutors say he failed to report the connections. His attorneys issued a legal challenge in an attempt to get the charges dropped, but that was rejected by a judge.
Yeah, I don't.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
I don't think you need attitude on this one. This guy's got an uphill climb to prove his innocence. All right.
In Compton, police are on the hunt for vandals who smashed dozens of headstones at a historic cemetery. They also stole plaques and lawn equipment from the Woodlawn Celestial Gardens sometime last week. The cemetery is the final resting place of more than 900 veterans from as far back as the War of 1812. The owner of Woodlawn believes the thieves wanted the bronze from the headstones so that they could sell it to recyclers. Sad.
Yeah, that's kind of as low as you can go.
Mm-hmm. Santa Cruz County in the process of declaring a disaster. The goal is to help with the recovery from recent ocean swells that closed businesses and flooded streets. Damage estimated at $4 million from Rio Del Mar to the Santa Cruz Wharf to Capitola Village. Meantime, Monterey County wants to be reimbursed for mitigation efforts made before those swells hit, calling a disaster proclamation the first step and a safety net. And the city of Carmel.
I will ding mitigation. Go ahead.
I'll take that ding and run with it. The city of Carmel by the Sea saying cheers to Third Thursdays. What could go wrong here? The city council voted yesterday to allow alcohol at the farmers market this year.
Woohoo! Yeah, baby.
This means residents and visitors can enjoy a boozy beverage while joining in the community festivities and socializing with neighbors.
Oh, my God.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
She just told you there's alcohol involved, so you know there's alcohol.
Boozing it up at the farmers market with the neighbors. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Thank you. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, maybe not so much. I don't know.
Wow.
A third of Gen Z folks live with a parent or family member because they can't afford to rent or buy their own place. This according to a new survey from Inuit Credit Karma. 31% of Gen Zers are living with parents because of high housing costs, elevated interest rates, or stagnant wage growth. Renting not any better. In 2022, 30% of the median income is now needed to pay the average rent for the first time.
Jeez.
A lot of people struggling out there. So, multi-generational housing for a whole new reason. One New Jersey congressman is calling on the United States government to mandate testing of baby food for metal contaminants. Democrat Frank Pallone is one of several lawmakers behind the Improving Newborns Food and Nutrition Testing Safety, or Infants Act. They had to work hard at that one, which requires finished baby food products, including infant formula, to be tested for toxic heavy metals, including lead, cadmium, and mercury. These contaminants can prove extremely dangerous to infants, and items like lead and mercury can cause decreased IQ and prompt a host of other developmental issues. Pallone's bill would also monitor for bacteria like salmonella. There's currently no federal mandate for testing finished baby food products for contaminants like heavy metals.
That's unreal that there's no method to test it.
I mean, what? Think of all the stupid laws in the world, and yet there's no law that says we have to do that. There's no process.
When it comes to regulating toxins in our food and water, there is really a vast wasteland of nothingness. It really has to be upgraded. God, just
what
awful.
In the ever-loving world? These are our babies.
Yeah.
Lastly, a little sports story for y'all. California State Controller Malia Cohen is speaking out regarding the LA Dodgers' $700 million deal with pitcher Shohei Ohtani. The bulk of Ohtani's pay will be deferred at least 10 years to a time when he will likely no longer be subject to California's tax laws, so he could return to Japan and escape payment of California's income taxes.
Oh, very clever.
Cohen says the current tax system allows for these kinds of deferrals primarily to the wealthy and that it creates an imbalance. So she is asking Congress to take action to correct the imbalance and move toward a more fair distribution of taxes.
Wow, that is very clever.
Yep,
sure, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Man.
This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. What you got to do?
I'm deferring my pay. Right now.
Are you deferring?
Until we start making money.
I'm taking my payment in the form of why are you yelling red is what I'm doing. That's right.
A good plan.
Why are you yelling?
Go ahead.
Why are you yelling red is so good. Mark says the sparkling wine at Tenuta Vineyards is good as well. They have 28 varietals, 14 reds, 14 whites, and a great tasting room. Go check it out. And if you purchase something either by phone or online, you get 10% off simply for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. And all you have to do is use the phrase that pays and say, smash it with your iron rod.
With your iron rod.
Thank you. Just like that, a boom, 10% off of your bill at Tenuta Vineyards. You can call them and say it at 925-699-4576. And please say hi to Rich out at Tenuta from all of us here at The Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, it is such a delight to be with you. Happy New Year. I can still say Happy New Year for, I think this is the last day I can say it. I always give myself till about the 10th, and today is the 9th. And so a Happy New Year. If you're just joining us, we have still to come in the next hour. The great David Cay Johnston will talk about the Trump case as it is proceeding through the appellate system. This would confer to Donald Trump and anyone who is president total immunity from prosecution. Trump's unique argument, if I can use that word, is associated with the fact that he was, through a Senate hearing, a Senate proceeding associated with his impeachment, and since he was not convicted, his people are suggesting this would be double jeopardy to bring him up on the same charges, if you will, associated with January 6th that would then remove him from the ballot. The other part of this ballot removal thing is that in Missouri, they're talking about removing Biden from the ballot. Again, I'll get to that with David Cay Johnston in the second hour. That second part, removing Biden from the ballot, is what I warned about when this whole ballot removal thing started. And then also in the second hour, we have the author of a new book which really talks about rising as an extraordinary athlete and set of athletes in the Jim Crow South. So all of that still to come in the second hour. Right now, he just came back from CES, so let's get to him.
The Mark Thompson Show.
You know him from PhotoWalks TV, the former USA Today tech writer. He's the great Jefferson Graham, and he's just come back from CES, the Consumer Electronics Show.
Let me say one word. I did not come back from the CES. I read about the CES. I've read all the coverage. I stopped going a few years ago because it was so much vaporware, announcements that were fun but never went anywhere.
So a waste of money and time, and now you just stand by and you read about it. All right.
That's and cool. laugh. And I get a good chuckle.
The laugh part of it is because these developments in the tech world really have nothing to do. Why do you laugh? Because the size of the TVs?
Because we're never going to see this stuff. And if we do, that $20,000 television from TCL, well, you might see it. Where are you going to see it? Is Best Buy going to be selling a $20,000 TV? I doubt that most consumers in the United States that watch the show will actually come in contact with that new TCL TV. Sounds fun. It's supposed to be 5 times brighter. Mark, what do you think? Are you ready for it?
I mean, it might be that I'd see it in a high-end sports bar or something, right?
$20,000, a lot of money, but you know, it is a relative bargain. It's 115 inches. It's $20,000. And when I was in Japan just a few weeks ago, I saw a 97-inch TV for $45,000. So we're making progress.
It is always the case, I was saying before, that CES seems to focus on TVs, maybe because they're this biggest, brightest, loudest thing at CES. But it was with a lot of this stuff, at least what's stealing the headlines, is associated with these developments in huge screens and, as you said, not only beyond 4K, right? You've got some extraordinary, it's almost like being there now. Yeah.
Have you been to CES before, Mark?
No, I've never been.
Okay.
I think maybe I actually was there for like a heartbeat for like hours,
The most impressive television displays I've ever seen in my life. Walls and walls and walls of connected TVs that will just take your breath away. And you always walk away saying, I should buy a new TV when I get home. Or better yet, how about a whole bunch of them and string them all together? Because it is just unbelievable. So the other news in television is the TV that blends into the wall. Samsung and LG both have TVs that are sort of translucent. LG's TV will resemble a fish tank until you pick up that remote control and you see the local news or whatever is on your television. Neither of them have prices announced, but they claim that I think LG will actually said they'll come out this year, and Samsung was more of a concept.
I have to say, it looks pretty cool. I mean, as you say, it all looks pretty cool.
I've never seen a TV there that didn't look cool. But, it was a few years ago at the CES, they announced the Frame. Samsung had a TV that was called the Frame. It's a piece of artwork. It goes on the wall. And when it's not a TV, it is, Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. The only problem is they have those pesky power cords coming out of the TV. It sort of ruins the whole idea. But that TV did come out. But I ask all your viewers and listeners to raise their hand how many went out and bought one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would just make one point. When you're putting the TV on the wall, you put a hole in the wall and you put the power cords through that. I mean, if you're going to go to that trouble, you've got to go to the additional trouble of, sadly rewiring a little bit and putting it in the wall. Meantime, so you've come up with a virtual fish tank until you turn it on. The huge 20K television set that's 115 inches. What about this new iPhone case that I've heard about? It's like a throwback, and yet it's throw forward. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I like it. It's for folks who yearn for their old BlackBerry, who loved having a real keyboard instead of a virtual keyboard. Unfortunately, it's $139. It snaps to your iPhone. You put it over the iPhone, so it's an iPhone case with this additional keyboard, and it will also charge up your phone. So it's an accessory battery, which is great. But I ain't paying $140 for it. How about you, my friend?
I do miss the BlackBerry thing. It's a little expensive for my taste right now, but if it drops a little bit more, which it likely will, right, Jefferson Graham?
If it sells, yeah.
It could be in the neighborhood of something that I would try, especially when you consider the fact that it will continue to charge your phone. Yeah. So now, last question. I don't even know you answered this question on this particular item. Does that when you have it plugged in, when you have it within the case, does that prevent you from using the virtual keyboard? Now are you wedded to the... No, you can still use that?
I don't know, but I assume that in options you have the choice of switching back and forth. Did you get my picture of the smart toilet? Do you have that one?
Do you have the smart toilet photo? I forwarded it on to you.
Because I love this. For $2,000 to $8,000, instead of going over and flushing, you could say, A word, G word, please do it for me. And I just thought, it's a riot. But this picture of the toilet in the middle of the road. I mean, I love to do the middle of the road shot. I love to stand in the middle of the road and get that photo. And so they put a toilet bowl in the middle of the road. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they photoshopped it. But somebody came up with the idea, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we stuck one of our Kohler $8,000 toilet bowls in the middle of the road? That would stop people. That would make them look at our ad. Somebody got paid to do that.
Though. You have mad respect for that, do you not?
I do. I have a lot of respect. The other
what they're saying is the road to the toilet future goes through our toilet. That's what they're saying. I get it, Jeff. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk to it?
No, I don't. I don't.
Do you want to use? Do you want to remote control it?
No. Yeah, right. If your notion is they're adding things that have no relation to stuff you want to do with the toilet, then you're right. I don't want to talk to my toilet. I want to. The existing button that you have to flush the toilet seems to be working fine.
Yes. I will say, if you've ever had the experience of a Toto toilet in Japan, that's a totally different thing. As you know, I've spent some time in Japan. When you sit down, you have a heated seat. It's heated, and then,
to me is terrific. Yeah,
and then you could pick up your remote and you could adjust the temperature. And it's got all sorts of bells and whistles that I have no idea because they're written in another language. It's pretty crazy. The other really expensive thing that was
Can I get a translator in this men's room so that I can use the fully functional toilet? I'm only using a portion of the functions. Go ahead.
Apple announced a release date for the Vision Pro, which is the $3,500 headset that will let you be wowed and watch videos and photos and play games and things like that. $3,500. And the pre-orders start on the 19th, and you get to make a reservation to test it out at the Apple Store.
So
good luck
this is
good
for
luck
those
who
might have missed it last time. Jeff is not a fan of this. He feels as though it might be great. Let me finish.
Okay.
Where's my? Will you let him finish, sir? Where?
It's fantastic.
No, hang on a second. Sorry, Jeff. You can edit this out, Tony. I can't find it. Some of my stuff was lost in the big fire. Anyway. Your point was that these may be great, but the price point is ridiculous at $3,000. It's just not going to be. It could be a boon to consumers and people who want this kind of experience, but at $3,000, it's not reachable for most people. Wasn't that your point, sir?
$3,500 out of the reach for the average consumer to be a mass market item. It will be the most hyped product probably, and you will actually see it in the stores. Whether you can get an appointment to test it out at the Apple Store, I think, is another question. I mean, they're only going to have so many appointments a day, and there's a lot of people that might want to check it out that don't want to. I mean, maybe they'll buy it, but maybe they'll definitely want to check it out. I want to see it. You want to see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm...
Can you let him finish, sir?
A little late on the let him finish on that one, but all right. Jeff, that's the Apple... And I will say one more thing about the Apple headset. Their commercials are terrific. As usual, Apple has the most amazing TV spots. I don't even know... Maybe you could run one, Tony, if you can, while I'm still talking to Jeff. I just saw it last night, I think, on the championship game. You know, it ran during sports, and it's brilliant. It's just a bunch of different ways in which goggles and glasses, et cetera, are used in a bunch of different movie situations and television situations, and then they introduce their new goggles and glasses, and it's pretty great. But as you say, it's just a waiting list now to even try them. So
I think so. But Apple has the best marketing in the world. They have convinced 200 million people every year that they need a new phone when they probably don't. But you know, you say, I have to have this thing. I have to have it. They're brilliant, and their ads have always been brilliant.
Here's the ad for those. Vision Pro is what they say. Yeah, the music keeps us from
I took my $250 glasses, my video glasses, to Tijuana last Thursday. I got great footage on my $250 glasses.
Yeah, I do want to let him finish. He went to Tijuana with his glasses.
Yes.
Is that going to be on Photo Walks?
It's there now.
Okay.
I am editing the complete episode, but I have a short up right now of me going through the gate with the glasses and meeting my guide, because I got a guide to show me around.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You always have a cool guide. Well, Jefferson Graham, so love your time with us. Jeff, we have a new camera in the studio, and we've kind of reconfigured it. It's too, and we've gone high def for the new year too. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've gone. What is it, 1080p? It's too close. I don't like it.
Well, there's a solution. Move it back a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. The problem.
What kind of camera did we get?
We just got a Razor, I believe. The Razor. That's the shot normally. If you move it back too far, I don't know. I'm just not happy. I think I'm not happy with the lighting too. Lighting is everything.
Well, let me come over tomorrow. We'll fix it.
That would be great. I would love it. Jeff, if you could make a mission of mercy, I would love it.
I will do it. All I ask for is a Caesar salad.
Okay. Okay. You can find him on, there he is, going into Mexico, entering Tijuana. And
hands-free.
Wow.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Yeah, okay. Congratulations on your trip to Tijuana. There, Jeff he's surreptitiously recording everyone. They don't realize that he has those recording glasses on. A lot of spiral gates. Do we get anything more than I see one?
I get to meet up with the guide.
Okay. Very cool.
Here she comes. Here comes Natalie.
Yeah. All right. Surreptitiously is a ding word. You can find the rest on his YouTube channel, which is Photo Walks TV. How about it for the great Jefferson Graham? Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Look at that. Jefferson Graham's coming over to help me with the lighting in this dump.
So I'm free from this?
Yeah, you're off the hook on that.
Okay, cool. I'm off the hook.
How great is that? Hey, before David Cay Johnston gets here, I had something and I thought I would run it. It's kind of a fun thing.
Okay. I like fun.
And yeah. So I have to just see if I have it. Everything's all screwed up with the new
How long
studio.
is this going to take?
I have something for you.
Make me wait.
Mark Thompson Show audience, Kim with a uncharacteristic. Yeah, she's really being tough. She filled in on the show for 3 weeks for those who are new.
I got maybe a little too big for my britches.
She is really full of herself. But I don't know. I don't mind it in a weird way. And then I actually do mind it. She doesn't realize that, I'm the Mac Daddy. You know what I mean? You got to respect the Mac Daddy.
Do you know who I am?
Thank you very much.
Kind of a big deal.
All right. Everybody in the chat now and everyone listening and everyone watching can play. What are the most expensive cities to live in the world, Dave? Give me the most expensive city in the world. I will help you. It is not in the United States of America.
Is it Tokyo?
It is not Tokyo. Becky, thank you. Good guess. Atherton, no. Monaco, no, JT. Very close. Good guess, I should say, not close. Singapore, says Randy. No. Paris, says Tom, keeper of the ding. No. Hong Kong, says Janet. No. I will give you another clue. This city is not in Asia. It is not in Asia. Dubai, no. These are all good guesses. The city is not in Asia. The city is not in the Middle East. Abu Dhabi, says Ren. The city is not in the Middle East. It's not in Asia. It's not in the Middle East. It's not in the U.S. The most expensive city in all the world. I'm seeing some close guesses. Geneva is super close. You're very warm. Very warm at Geneva, Aussie rules. What is the most expensive city to live in worldwide? Stockholm, Sweden, you're getting colder. Sweden, cold. Oslo, Norway, you're getting colder. Closest was Geneva, the answer I was looking for. Copenhagen, says John, no. I'd seen the answer because Zurich is right. Zurich is the answer. Zurich, Switzerland is the most expensive city.
Wow.
Now, yes or no, is San Francisco, our beloved San Francisco, is that on the list of the top 10 most expensive cities? Is San Francisco, there's Zurich, Switzerland. Look how beautiful that is. All that beauty is very expensive. San Francisco, also a beautiful city. Yes or no? Is it on the list of the most expensive cities in the world? This is a simple yes or no question.
No.
No, no, no. Is everybody saying no, no, no? Look at all the no, no, no.
No, no, no.
They're all saying no. Nobody says yes. Boswell X Crow says yes. The answer is yes. It is on the most expensive cities. It is the 10th most expensive city in the world, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Number 2, somebody else has suggested Singapore. Geneva is right behind Zurich, then New York, then Hong Kong, then Los Angeles is more expensive than San Francisco. Paris after Los Angeles, Tel Aviv after Paris at number 8, Copenhagen after Tel Aviv, and then San Francisco at number 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you have it. The least expensive cities I will save. However, I'm counting on you, the audience, not to Google it.
Google it.
Because if you Google it, it ruins the game. Some people, though, Kim, as you know, they'd rather be right and ruin the game.
Yep.
Than just play the game square. So, smash the like button like a boss.
It with your iron rod.
The award winner, best-selling author, Pulitzer Prize winner, David Cay Johnston, still ahead. We'll get to him in just a moment.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's News, and then the great David Cay Johnston, Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. A federal appeals court is considering whether former President Trump is immune from prosecution on charges he illegally tried to overturn the 2020 election. Trump voluntarily appeared in a D.C. courtroom today. He was not wearing that hat at the time, I don't think. Trump's lawyers argued his efforts in 2020 were within
it's a cowboy hat for those just listening.
Yeah, he's going to yeehaw. His lawyers argued that his efforts in 2020 were within his official presidential duties and are therefore protected by presidential immunity. As mentioned earlier here on the Mark Thompson Show, Boeing will hold an all-hands safety meeting with employees today. That
seems like a solid idea.
Yeah, that's going to be a great meeting. It comes just days after a panel on the 737 MAX 9 jet here featured, and this photo blew off an Alaska Airlines flight not long after takeoff. The FAA has grounded all Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft. I'd hate to be the Bolt team at that meeting. Lunar lander mission.
Hey, all the Bolt team guys, want to get you up on stage here for a couple of quick remarks. How things going? Yeah.
What happened? Wow. What you doing?
The Bolt team.
This lunar lander mission is being scrapped. You can see here they had some type of failure in the metal overlay. Well, they suffered a critical malfunction less than a day after launch. Astrobotic Technology was trying to become the first private company to land on the moon, but the Peregrine spacecraft was hit with propulsion issues shortly after launch Monday, keeping this vehicle from charging its batteries and causing a fuel leak. It looks like that's a no-go.
The science is ridiculous.
That was the lead. That was the lead. Yeah, on the entire project. She was the lead.
Yeah, that didn't go well. Look at this guy. This is the new prime minister of France. He'll be the youngest in modern history.
He looks like he's 11 years old. Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Wow.
French President Emmanuel Macron naming 34-year-old Gabriel Attal to the country's second highest office on Tuesday. Attal, who's the current education minister, was appointed following Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne's sudden resignation on Monday. He becomes the country's first openly gay prime minister.
No wonder he's so handsome. My God, I get it. Yeah. He's way too good looking to be straight.
It's the truth. I mean, come on. He's a good looking kid. The planets are aligning. Yes. Look to the skies early this morning for the alignment of the moon, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Venus will be the most visible. Mercury will be bright, but Mars may require binoculars. The planets will be out before sunrise. They will be best seen in an area with low light pollution and without obstruction. So, time to pull out the telescope if you have one, because it's going to be quite a sight in the sky. And lastly, because, we're about to give you a dose of smart with David Cay Johnston coming right up, we'll give you a dose of dumb at the end of the news. The Oscar Meyer company looking for new hot doggers to drive its iconic wiener mobile. What a fun job. There you go, Tony. There's another job for you. The meat and cold cuts company owned by Kraft Heinz is hiring people to drive this 27-foot-long hot dog-shaped vehicle. The lucky winners will be paid just over $35,000 salary a year, along with a $150 weekly allowance. The average hot dogger travels 20,000 miles and visits at least 40 cities, hosting pop-up events, appearing on local media, and creating social media content. Wow. Would you like to drive the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile?
Might be fun for a few hours, right?
No, you have to sign up for the whole year.
Oh, I see.
No. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. There it is. Look at that. It is a place to get this wonderful coffee, wonderful tea, very much the good stuff, we can say. So you can find
it's the fresh grow. It's the first crop. Yeah.
And they do it with kindness as well. So find this huge selection of coffees, amazing teas. I'm telling you, that Moroccan mint and the ginger mint, wow. It is a treat just for you. Find them at Coachella Valley. Yeah. That's right. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And then, for being a Mark Thompson Show listener, get your exclusive 10% discount by putting in Mark T at checkout. And again, enjoy the good stuff. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
Do you feel it? It's The Mark Thompson Show. The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, how about it? I was waiting because David's background is all I see. I don't actually see the man, the legend, but I see his gorgeous background. I'm wondering, maybe we can hear his audio. Maybe he's not. Maybe we're just going to look at that living room setting for David's entire segment. But that's why I was kind of waiting to go to him, because I didn't see him personally.
That's weird.
I know. It is. It is weird. But it is nonetheless. I'll take you.
He's there. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
He is there. I mean, I guess we're seeing the background, but not the man.
The science is ridiculous.
If we could have seen you, I wouldn't have done the Wienermobile story. But there you go.
I kept waiting. I thought, oh, David's letting us know he's here, but he's not quite ready, because I can see that living room scene. So I waited, and then I'm realizing, oh, wait a minute. I think there's something wrong. We can't see him. Anyway, let's not worry about it any further. He is the award-winning, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist, multiple best-selling author, co-founder of DCReport.org. Wow, what a body of work. David Cay Johnston. He's lectured on the law internationally and, of course, regularly at Syracuse University. And when it comes to Trump, there is no other greater authority. And now Donald Trump very much bringing the law together with his presidency as he tries to fight in the appellate court a couple of battles. David, I wondered if you heard any of these arguments this morning as they were basically trying to, wow, this is a wild visual. There he is, everyone. Come on. So essentially, David, as I understand it, and I heard a little bit of the arguments this morning, the Trump people are sort of saying they're arguing for immunity. And even as they were arguing for immunity, for presidential immunity on the part of their client, Donald Trump, you were hearing all these questions from the judges saying, asking one thing or another. It seemed to me, and this is why I was so excited to have you on today, it seemed to me that all those questions were reflecting a skepticism, a legal skepticism, if you will, on the part of the judges.
Well, and we shouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, even Clarence Thomas, I don't see how he could vote to do what Donald Trump wants. Trump's lawyers today were asked by one of the three judges in the appellate court, so could a president send SEAL Team 6 to assassinate all of his political rivals, the other candidate in a race and other people, and he would be immune from prosecution? And they answered, well, unless he was convicted upon impeachment, he couldn't be prosecuted. That is a bizarre reading. Clearly, the lawyers are doing what Donald has told them to do. What the Constitution says is that if you are convicted of impeachment, which requires 67 votes in the Senate, 2/3 of the senators, that you are still liable for criminal prosecution. Their argument is, well, if you weren't impeached, then that means you can't be charged. That is an absurdity. And I would point out that about 2 weeks after January 6th, Mitch McConnell, in explaining why he wasn't going to vote to convict Donald Trump in impeachment, said that's what we have the criminal courts for.
Right, you can't have it both ways. Right.
Got on his plane he calls Trump Force One and went into another screed insisting that Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, was illegally appointed. Utter, complete nonsense from a man who has no idea what's in the Constitution.
Well, just because you mentioned it, Trump is also taking more shots at the prosecutor in Georgia.
Yes.
And these are, not only are these arguments or these notions specious, they're really destructive. And now Jack Smith, just back to him, he was swatted over the weekend where, I think it was Sunday night late, where they, called in a fake sort of SWAT situation, suggesting that there were hostages in the house and there was a gun in there.
Caller said that there have been gunshots and a hostage in the house. And fortunately, the U.S. Marshals, who are at Smith's house 24 hours a day, when they became aware of the radio traffic, immediately called the local sheriff's department and said, this is nonsense, no need to come, don't come. Judge Tashkent also had a similar experience, and we're going to see more of these. And, we should all hope that law enforcement is able to identify these people and get them charged and put where they belong, which is in prison.
I was reading, I think over the weekend, David, that a third of Jack Smith, the prosecutor or the counsel's budget is associated with security for his staff and for himself. It's crazy. This is what we have to deal with. I'll take your decision on this. I told Tony to pull the Trump remarks as he came out of this appellate hearing, and just was going to play a little bit. Tony, will you play a little bit for David, and then we'll get back to this is Trump stepping out of the courtroom. Here we go.
Well, I want to thank you all, and we had I thought, very momentous day in terms of what was learned and what they've conceded. They conceded two major points that were right in doing it. I don't think they had much of a choice, but they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. Numbers came out today that are really very mind-boggling if you happen to be Joe Biden. And I think they feel this is the way they're going to try and win. And that's not the way it goes. It'll be bedlam in the country. It's a very bad thing. It's a very bad precedent. As we said, it's the opening of a Pandora's box, and that's a very sad thing that's happened with this whole situation. When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. And if you don't, as an example, if this case were lost on immunity, and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, I'm working for the country. And I worked on very hard on voter fraud because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those two things almost above all. And we found tremendous voter fraud. We have a list of it. We have some findings if you want it. The press doesn't like reporting it, but we found tremendous voter fraud, determinative voter fraud. But we worked on that. That's what I was doing. And they were talking about after. Well, nothing has to do with after I left. It was during the time. And that was what they really focused on today during the appeal. And they concede that, and everybody concedes that. And if it's during the time, you have absolute immunity. So we'll see how it all works out.
Well, there you go. I mean, and he knocks around a little longer. And, he says you have absolute immunity. He states that, but that's just simply not the case.
Well, you'll notice he started off by saying that the prosecution conceded 2 points, and then he never acknowledged what points were conceded right. Because it's just made up nonsense. The reality here is that Trump's argument, I've never done anything wrong in my life, as he told a radio interviewer here in Rochester, where I live, in 2016, who said, well, as a Christian, when was the last time you asked God for forgiveness? And Trump said, ask God for forgiveness? Why would I do that? I've never done anything in my life that requires asking forgiveness. I'm sorry, if you're a Christian, you're in a constant state of seeking forgiveness.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
Yeah, well, there's that.
And the reason he's going to lose on this, and I suspect he's going to get so thoroughly slammed in the way the court writes its decision, is quite literally, if the president is immune from criminal liability, he could literally kill people, as Trump said, shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote. He could overthrow the government. And by the way, if his argument is accepted, Joe Biden could do the same thing. He could just have Donald Trump offed or arrested on specious grounds. Donald doesn't believe in a society of law. He's an autocrat, a dictator. He's never had a board of directors to report to. There was only a very brief period in his life where bankers put in someone he had to get along with. And other than that, he's never been accountable to anyone for anything. So we shouldn't be surprised, given his mental state and his belief that he's a god. I mean, he himself keeps saying he's your savior, that he cottons to things like this.
Yeah. And, obviously that verbiage is latched onto by a lot of his followers, and they repeat it. But this whole court case situation, and as it progresses, maybe you can give us the legal part of this. The legal timeline, again, is effectively paused because of this. Right. I mean, this tactic of stalling is working for Trump to the extent that he wants to stall these cases.
So this case probably should never have gone to the Intermediate Court of Appeals. It should have gone straight to the Supreme Court. The upside to this, however, is that the 3-judge panel will issue a decision, and I would expect pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we have it next week. They are going to knock this down entirely. They were highly skeptical in their questioning, and I don't know anybody who isn't a Trump true believer who thinks he has any argument at all. And that would enable the Supreme Court to simply deny certiorari, that is, to decline to hear an appeal. And that's the end of it. And Trump can reapply to the court, but that's not going to delay things any longer. So I think you'll see the insurrection case back on track pretty soon. At the same time, it's become clear that in the Florida case, which is the easiest case to prove, Donald stealing national security secrets and then lying and denying and soliciting his lawyers to lie under oath that he had returned all these documents, and trying to get witnesses to lie that he didn't have documents he had, boxes and boxes and boxes of them, she is doing everything she can to slow walk this case. And I think pretty soon you're going to see the U.S. attorney take some kind of action to try and remove her from the case. They made a tactical decision when they charged him that because he took the documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, they should prosecute him in Florida. There's only one judge who serves the West Palm Beach area, where Mar-a-Lago is. I think it was a tactical mistake. They should have prosecuted him in D.C. That's where the crime began.
Sure.
And Judge Cannon, let's not ever forget, in her very first ruling in this case, said that Trump deserves special treatment, which is a violation of her oath of office. But, you know, think it's the wheels of justice grind exceedingly slowly, as we are all learning, but they are grinding on, and nothing that happened today is good for Trump in that case.
Well, the thing about them grinding so slowly is that there is sort of an expiration date on this. The shelf life on this has a pretty definitive end time. And I'm just wondering if any of these cases, and it sounds to me like you're saying maybe one of them will finally reach conclusion before the presidential election?
Yeah, I think there's a good case that two of them will. The Georgia case in Fulton County is also proceeding, and in all likelihood, he'll end up being tried alone. And that's not, it's unusual, but not unheard of in conspiracy cases. In this case, there were 19 defendants. There's no way you're going to trial 19 in one trial because it's too confusing. There's way too much for the jurors. There aren't enough rooms and courtrooms for all those lawyers, so you break them up into pieces. A couple of the witnesses have turned on Trump. Now, one of the things your listeners, I encourage them to pay very close attention to is in the filings by Jack Smith's office to the three judges who Trump appeared before today. He cited a number of examples of what could happen if the president is immune from any criminal liability while he's in office and can't be prosecuted afterwards. I suspect those were not pulled out of a hat. They were messages to the Trump people about what they will bring up at trial, that he sold secrets, something I was the first person to say he probably did in an article at DC Report.
Yes, I remember that.
August of 22, I think.
Yeah. It was, and when you said it, it was viewed as, wow. You
I was
said
way
that's
out there.
Yeah, you actually showed the breadcrumb trail in his past behavior. Like you're saying there's always a commercial aspect or business aspect to much of what Trump is doing. And so you were saying some of this has to be associated with that.
And we know, as a matter of fact, that he gave these very closely guarded secrets about our nuclear submarines and the billions of dollars we spent figuring out how to create screws or propellers that don't produce air bubbles and therefore can't be heard. He gave that away to this Australian guy who had a connection to defense contracts that were coming up. But anybody who thinks that's the only time Donald did that is not paying any attention. Donald has no muffler on what comes up in his brain, and he is always looking for money. Anyhow, there were several hypotheticals cited, including killing your opponent, selling national security secrets, and several others. And I suspect that when we get to trial, you're going to see witnesses called who are going to tell about exactly this kind of behavior by Donald Trump.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned behavior and revelations, and there are new revelations. And then I want to double back to what's happening in the court case, specifically in 14th Amendment in a moment. But there are new revelations out of Jack Smith's office associated with specifics on January 6th associated with Trump's behavior. We're just getting more details about, you know, how he was asked repeatedly to intervene to stop the violence at the Capitol and how he had absolutely no appetite for stopping it. He was told that Mike Pence had to be rushed to a secure location, and Trump said, "So what?" That's a quote. This comes out from one of his closest aides and one of his closest employees, the Scavino, who was with him for decades, I think. But more to the point, I'm wondering, David, if this goes into the basket of, yeah, we know Trump really was behind this all, or if little details like that help color a picture in some way that matters.
Well, no, I think that all of this will help show Donald Trump's role. I mean, January 6th was not a one-day event. The planning for this began, it appears, before the election in November of 2020. It's certainly for 2 months up to January 6th, all sorts of things were happening. Fake electors, schemes to deter, lying to people who've come forward and said, yeah, I signed up to be an elector. They lied to me about what I did. Trying to maneuver so that Mike Pence wouldn't be there on the date of certification. Instead, Chuck Grassley, the Iowa pig farmer, would be in charge of the Senate that day. And so all of these other events and the testimony that's going to come out at trial, that Trump was sitting in his little dining area off the Oval Office watching TV and saying, hey, come in here and see this. Isn't this great? Look at that. Look at, they're fighting for me. Those are not the actions of someone who is faithfully executing the office of president. And I think the trial is going to open eyes, maybe not among the most dedicated Trumpers, but a lot of people, that what went on was vastly worse than the impression you would have if you're a typical American who pays some attention to the news, but not a lot. You maybe spend you listen to the radio driving to work, sort of thing. It's going to be very damning. And a lot of the Republicans who are sticking with Donald Trump, I think, are going to be deeply embarrassed about it. Next week we get the Iowa caucuses. Do you know who won the Iowa caucus in 2016?
Was it Ted Cruz or somebody like
that? Ted
Yeah.
Cruz, who couldn't get elected dog catcher probably today,
right?
Except in Texas. And these ideas that Donald's going to be at least 30 points ahead of Nikki Haley next. I think we should pay close attention to how many people don't show up. It's like where I live, we have a district attorney in an office with a long history of framing innocent people for crimes, all of them men of color, who are later exonerated. And the most telling thing that the public understands that is that 40,000 people didn't cast a ballot for district attorney in the last race. Didn't vote. There was no opposing candidate. And in this case, I think in Iowa, weather may well be a factor.
Yeah, the weather.
Iowa chose to go in March. I mean, in January, they wanted to be first. How many people turn up and how many of them are Trumpers, I think, will be very revealing. We need to look at both the size of the turnout and the depth of Trump's support.
Well, we talked last week about how, and I've talked repeatedly, I just feel the caucus system is ridiculous anyway. It's not a secret ballot. It's absurd, frankly. It's as absurd as the Electoral College. And yet money, to your point, like who wins, isn't nothing, because money, institutional money, does seem to follow, and you get a little bump from how you do in Iowa. But as you've also said, Ted Cruz did, having won last time, didn't really get the bump that carried him anywhere, except
the constitutional amendment, Mark, that I'm most in favor of us adopting would be: you can only, as a candidate for office, accept contributions for people who are resident in your jurisdiction. Why should I, a New Yorker, be able to give campaign contributions to you in Los Angeles, whether it's city council or governor or Congress? And I think if we limited contributions to people within the represented districts, states for senators, districts for members of Congress, you would see a much different Congress and a much greater emphasis on being accountable to the people instead of to the funders. What I years ago got into the public lecture, the public lexicon, the donor class.
Yes,
the donor class.
The donor class. And to get money out of politics would be the greatest move. I want to ask you about January 6th and how it should be. We just, went through this anniversary, and 3 years after January 6th, you see already how it's being recharacterized, how there's sort of a revisionist aspect to the way it's being remembered. Speak to how it should be memorialized and moving forward, the aura around January 6th and what might happen.
I would argue for a second date that will live in infamy after the Pearl Harbor attack and FDR. You know, there's a running around on the internet. You will see an illustration of people celebrating Bastille Day in France on the day that the Bastille was broken into, and making a comparison to January 6th. It is an absurdity and a complete rejection of reality to say that, you know, nothing went on there. There was a false flag operation, all this other nonsense. We watched it on TV. Why not just believe your eyes and what you saw right in front of yourself? More than 100 police officers injured, some of whom had to retire as a result of their injuries, and nobody from Congress dying because of the bravery of those police officers, while Donald Trump did nothing. That is, I mean, you've got on for those watching on the internet, you've got up an image now of people breaking through the barriers, and that's not democracy. That is an effort at a coup. It failed, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't a coup effort. And to those people who say, as a couple of congressmen or senators have said recently, it can't be a coup, it only lasted 3 or 5 hours. There are lots of coups around the world that are over within an hour.
Sure.
And I do wonder how differently we would see this had Mike Pence been killed, or even one member of Congress, even a backbencher, been killed by this murderous mob. And that's what they were. They were a murderous mob.
They'd look at that as there were a handful of people who were bent on violence, but most people were there peacefully and were just being, kept along by this whitewater rafting ride that Trump had started, and they just got into the moment. And this brings me to Ashli Babbitt, the woman who was killed, and now her family is suing the federal government for $30 million, David, saying that she posed no threat and that the use of the weapon against her was an inappropriate use of that weapon. Can you speak to that?
Well, having covered lots and lots of police shootings, particularly LAPD shootings, and learned about how they work and writing about them decades ago, for sure, the actions of the police officer or whoever the law enforcement person was are certainly going to be scrutinized before this case is over. But she was part of a mob shouting to kill public officials these officers were sworn to protect. They were breaking through a window. I have a hard time imagining that her family will collect anything, and by no circumstances is she a hero. She is a criminal. Ashli Babbitt is a criminal, or was a criminal, since she's no longer with us. And the people around her are criminals. And we need to, isn't it strange that the party of law and order is promoting criminals, is arguing for criminals? I mean, the sad truth here is that the Republicans, who are a minority party, and apparently are going to continue to be a shrinking minority party, have abandoned all sense of what they claimed were principles: family values, law and order. Don't ever trust the Kremlin or the communists in China or North Korea. Completely gone. And that's because at the core here, what we're learning is there's only power. That's the sole interest, is power. And democracies don't operate on that. Democracies operate on, you make the better argument, you get it out there, people will decide that they will like your position, not somebody else's.
On your website that you co-founded, there's a great piece by Terry Schwadron called Memorializing Self-Delusion, in which he goes through the January 6th stuff just in a broad stroke way, but makes some of the points that you've made about the denial that we're in, how the political power grab is really, behind the mass denial, but how the mass denial is real. And what I would say, David, I would recommend that piece, by the way. That's why we have it up there on the screen, and I would recommend DC Report generally. But what I would also say is, and we've got to wrap up, I know, but boy, David, this GOP, they're all in with this. They're all in with the pardoning of Trump. They're all in with the denial of J6 as a coup attempt. You realize that, we can talk about a spectrum of GOP well, they're the fiscal conservatives or whatever, however they brand themselves. But the reality is all of them, to a person, seem committed to this narrative.
Well, and worse than that, I mean, they are working very hard to deny food aid to poor families, to deny medical care to the poor. We've had several cases now arise of women who have died because of these abortion laws. I mean, this is about power. It's about white supremacy. It's about male power. It is not about a democracy. And these are people who they so much want to make America white again in terms of power, that they've just simply lost sight of all other values. And we should be very, very worried about this, very worried, because it says something's fundamentally gone wrong. Here we're living in a country where you have freedom. Lots of people will tell you we don't have any freedom anymore. But when you ask them what, they can't point to much, if anything. Our economy is by far the best performing in the world among the major nations. We have record low black unemployment. Remember, Donald said, "Oh, nobody who's black is going to have a job, so you should vote for me. I'll take care of you." It's not as low as the total unemployment rate, but it is at the lowest level since 1972 when the government started measuring this. We have real wage growth. We continue to have job growth. Inflation is now down for the last 6 months to 2%, which is the target of the Fed. And the important, and the trade deficit, the new numbers came out today. Our trade deficit is getting better. It's been on a downhill slope in terms of lowering the deficit in goods and services with the rest of the world, particularly as we bring manufacturing back to the United States, which is a core principle of the Biden administration. And yet so many people insist things are terrible. The governor of my state gave her State of the State address while I was working out at the gym, and she says, we have these organized retail crime groups that are breaking in everywhere, and we have this tremendous... It's like, no, the National Retail Federation admitted that study was bogus. They withdrew it. Why is the governor of my state repeating this lie? Probably because one wag told me just before we came on the air, because she reads Murdoch's New York Post instead of the New York Times.
Well, that is the narrative, too, from the Post, the Daily Mail, et cetera. Yeah. But you make such good points. The loss of certain legislative priorities in all of this, and then the denial of certain economic facts and other facts that are in evidence. Find David across the spectrum. He's the most popular kid at the dance.
For those of you watching, you can see I'm wearing my shirt by a Rochester artist of 10 famous Rochesterians like Susan B. Anthony, Frederick Douglass, Cab Calloway, George Eastman, who founded Kodak, and I'm on the list.
Wow,
pretty nice.
Come on!
I really don't deserve to be there, but I'm on the list.
Oh, that's a little modesty, but the truth is you're well-deserved. I'd move you up the list. How's that?
Yeah.
I'd move you higher on the shirt.
My friends Gap and Chuck Mangione probably are better deserving of this.
Wow, Chuck Mangione, very good. That's a nice brag to be in his company. All right, so we'll know more next week. We'll have a judgment. Will we have a judgment on this case or not?
I think that it's a very good chance that by next Tuesday, and certainly by 2 weeks from now, we'll know what the Court of Appeals has said. And I expect it will be very strong. To use one of Donald's favorite words, it will be pretty quick, and it will be so strong that the Supreme Court will be able to avoid having to step into this quagmire.
Well, that's how we started, and David feels that they can sidestep it because the appellate judgment will be just that. Thanks, David. We'll talk to you next week. David Cay Johnston, everybody. See you next time.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for coup d'etat.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Use Mark Thompson.
It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
It is great to have you all here. Kim, I'd like to go right to Amy if I can, if I can get your approval to do so. Kim is, as you know,
I agree. Thumbs up.
pretty compelling story. Before I get to it, smash the like button for David Cay Johnston, who joins us on Tuesdays. We'll break that out as a separate video as well, and you can share that video across social media, sort of just help grow this platform. We're a crowd-funded platform, and so we like to get the word out about what we're doing, who we're talking to, and we're excited about this next visitor who has quite the story to tell.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Aime Alley Card, author of The Tigerbelles, Olympic Legends from Tennessee State. And what's interesting about this story, aside from everything, is that it comes out of the Jim Crow South in 1960. The Tennessee State University all-black women's track team, they went to the Olympics at the Games in Rome, and they beat the odds there. I mean, again, against this America from which they'd come that was still heavily segregated, filled with prejudice and racism, and I mean, even more naked than we find today. But the story of what happened to the Tigerbelles, you can see in the Olympics, transcends just sports. So let's bring her on now. Hi, Aime Alley Card.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for being here. What a story you've come upon here. Tell me about these women, the Tigerbelles. So it was an all-black team from Tennessee State in 1960.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Tigerbelles was gathered by Ed Temple, who was the coach at the time, and they all were at this HBCU, the Tennessee State University in Nashville, and they together made up eight people that were trained at Tennessee State, made up almost the entire sprint team and the U.S. Olympic team, and they ended up bringing home 6 gold medals in 1960.
You have been researching them, their past, and writing about them, because it's more than a story of this team and their visit to the Olympics and their triumph at the Olympics, I take it. It's a story about those individuals and some of the impediments to even getting them there to the Olympics.
That's right. I mean, the one that most people would have heard of is Wilma Rudolph. She was the one who brought home the 3 gold medals that time. But the thing that was so fascinating to me about the team was that they all together made it. So, and they each have their own individual stories. Barbara Jones was on the team. She was a self-proclaimed diva, and she won her first gold medal in 1952. She was only 15 years old. She was the youngest American woman to win gold. And Willie White was from Greenwood, Mississippi, and she was made the Olympics at 16 years old with the team in 1956. And so they just did a lot of really incredible things, overcoming all the adversity in their personal lives. They each have their own stories, and it was just really great to be able to find out what each of them had done in their own personal lives and together overcome to get to that point.
Well, your book is getting remarkable reviews. I mean, the story of the Tigerbelles is one of the most inspiring tales in the history of athletics. Coach Ed Temple and an incredibly talented group of Olympians overcame barriers of race, class, and gender to become the most dominant track program in the world. Drawing on deep research and more than 60 years of interviews, Amy Carr deftly brings this compelling story to life in the Tigerbelles. This is American history that must not be forgotten. Thanks to this fascinating, timely, and highly readable book, the story of remarkable women succeeding against the tallest odds will be enjoyed for generations to come. Wow, that's from a New York Times best-selling author named Andrew Marinas. So congratulations, Aime Alley Card. Your book is getting, insane reviews. What made you so fascinated by this story? What initially got you so interested in this group of extraordinary people?
Andrew is very generous with his reviews. I really appreciate that about him, really supporting other writers. But so I grew up knowing about this story because my grandfather was a coach in Nashville at the time of the Tigerbelles, and he became friends with Coach Temple. And I just grew up with knowing about the Tigerbelles as just the epitome of athletic achievement. And when I realized as I got older that more people didn't know about who they were, I just felt like it was something that needed to be shared. And the more that I dug into it, the more I saw and realized about each personal story and the value of the team. And it just drew me in more and more. And
can you give me an example for those of us who didn't live through the Jim Crow era as to how this Jim Crow era affected these women and sort of life at that time in 1960 or around that time leading up to 1960?
Yeah, it was really severe. I mean, people weren't white and Black people weren't using the same bathrooms. They weren't using the same restaurants. They weren't using the same water fountains. They couldn't go to the same places. When they would travel, when the Tigerbelles would travel to other places, they had to be really careful about where they stopped to make sure, where could they stay and where could they eat. And one example was, so my grandfather was a coach at Vanderbilt, and they had an SEC team, which was really strong. And they had some people that would win SEC championships. But when he heard about the Tigerbelles, the Tennessee State was, underfunded as a university, but also women's track was not supported even within the school that much. Women were encouraged to participate in athletics at all. And so when my grandfather found out about the team, he invited them to come and practice on Vanderbilt's track because they only had a track to practice on that went halfway around. So I can't even imagine elite athletes who are running it. They were competing against Russia and Britain, who the entire country's resources would be behind these teams that would represent their countries at the Olympics. And our teams really were running in substantial conditions. And but at Vanderbilt at the time, the track was a great quality track, but they only had their best person in that year was Kent Russ. He was a long jumper, and Ralph Boston was a long jumper at the time too at Tennessee State. So when Tennessee State's athletes came over to practice on Vanderbilt's track, the team saw Ralph Boston would jump 2 feet further than the SEC champion. So that just shows how much better they were, and they were in the same town with very different resources. So the issues that they dealt with in the era were real, and some of the athletes that would come from the other places where they weren't dealing with the Jim Crow South issues had a lot of trouble adapting to just going to school in the South. So that was another thing that they had to work against. To train with this great coach, they had to sacrifice and deal with some of the issues in the town at the time.
When they got to Europe, was the racism just as bad?
Actually, they did not experience that. And in fact, Willie White really famously talks about how and this was 1956, and Willie White had worked in the cotton fields in Greenwood, Mississippi. And part of the reason why she wanted to make the Olympic team was so that she wouldn't have to go back to Greenwood and work in the fields again. And she was there when Emmett Till was murdered. And so she witnessed that whole event in her hometown. And then she was actually in the Melbourne Olympics in 1956. And when she got to Melbourne, she realized that white people and Black people could mix. They could be friends. They could, eat together and dance together and all these. So her whole life opened up a world of new possibilities. And she never wanted to go home after that. Every summer after that, she made sure she was running. So that was her main objective, even to make the Olympic team, was not necessarily just for the Olympics. It was so that she didn't have to go home and work.
I have to say, that's one of the more intriguing aspects of your book, is describing the way that athletics, racism, Jim Crow South, the Olympics, these extraordinary people, I mean, they were three-dimensional people beyond just their excellence and prowess in track, how it all intersects and comes together and gives you a complete picture of people, as you say, who just wanted to have a life, a complete life. and who were being really kept down in so many different ways. I asked you the question about Europe because I just think historically we lose track of the fact that Europe's been way ahead of us on this stuff. You know, even the abolition of slavery, Europe was way ahead of the abolitionist movement in this country. So in general terms of speaking. But I'm fascinated by this. Congratulations on such great reviews. It really looks to be something that will be a treat, and a lot of people in the chat are saying that they're looking forward to reading it as well. How did this coach come along? He was just the coach at Tennessee?
So actually, that's at the beginning of the book. So that story, but he actually was an athlete at Tennessee State, and he thought that he got called into the head of school's office, and he thought he was going to get kicked out because what he was doing was still staying in the dorm while he was looking. He had already graduated and he was looking for a job, and he thought he was just going to get kicked out of the dorm. But it turns out they were offering him a job to coach. But he had to coach the women, and that was something he wasn't really thinking about doing. It wasn't that he was opposed to it, but he just hadn't considered that as an option. He didn't know how to coach them specifically, but he got the opportunity. And once he started, he never took another job. That was what he wanted to do his entire career. In fact, I talked to him before he passed away. I was just very fortunate to have that opportunity. And when I was ending the conversation, I asked him what he wanted people to know most about his time with the Tigerbelles and about the Tigerbelles in general. And he said the thing that he was the most proud of was that every single one of his Olympic athletes had graduated from college. Yeah, and that was the thing, more than all of their athletics. And these women were very accomplished, not only with their medals on the track, but in their lives. But he just really wanted to, that was the most important thing. First, they came for the education, and then they came to run track. So.
Isn't that terrific? That really is terrific. And that, again, that speaks to the complete nature of the experience. It's not just the one-dimensional track story. Hey, congratulations again. Looking forward to myself getting into this. I haven't seen the book yet. I'm looking forward to getting into it as well. It's really intriguing.
Make sure you get a copy.
Yeah, I really want. Oh, was I supposed to get a copy? I didn't get one. So
no, I'll get you one.
Oh, you'll get me one. Okay, good. Yeah, I usually try to read the books of the guests that we have on, but this time I didn't get a book, so that's I'd love to read it. Amy, congratulations. The book, The Tigerbelles, Olympic Legends from Tennessee State. Definitely check it out. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's just been released. Congratulations. It still has all the newness and freshness associated with it. So you can find it wherever books are sold. We've got it up on the screen now. And again, the description and the title, if you're forgetting it, will be in the description for this show. Congratulations, Aime Alley Card. Looking forward to hearing continued good things from your world.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us. See you, Amy. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How could it be, Tony, Kim? This is insane.
That was fun. Yeah.
She's really sharp, and that's a really great story.
Yeah.
Beating the odds out of the Jim Crow South into the world of the Olympics and then crushing the Olympic situation. Really, really great. Anything that I can get to that I left out? Anything that I promised that I didn't do?
I don't think so.
Well, I am thinking of something. The least expensive cities. Remember, I said I told you the least expensive cities.
Did say that, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I wanted to get to that because I did say that I would do it, and I will do it quickly. I will not. I'll make short work of this. Yes. The least expensive city is Damascus, Syria.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
I would never have guessed that.
I know. Yeah. That's why I gave it to you. Nor would I have answered it. The other least expensive city, I think the second most least expensive, all right, that city I think is guessable. Can we try a quick guess on the way out? I will give you clues. The least expensive city, if you missed the first part of this
Well, it has to be a pit, right?
Have list.
An armpit of the world.
The most expensive was Zurich, okay? Yeah. The least expensive, I will tell you, the least expensive is not in Asia, if that helps you. Again, this is the least expensive after Damascus, Syria. In fact, stay in the neighborhood of Damascus, Syria for your second least expensive city in the world. It is a city that has been in the news a lot. It is a city in the Middle East.
Does Gaza count as a city?
Spencer, Saudi Arabia? Come on. Yeah. Saudi Arabia is not it. Edward Lee asks, Tehran? The answer is yes. Tehran.
Oh, okay. Well done.
Tehran, Iran is the second least expensive city in the world, followed by Tripoli, followed by Karachi, followed by Tashkent and Tunis.
I've never heard of it. Where's Tashkent?
Where is Tashkent? I'm guessing it's in Pakistan, but I might be wrong. I don't know either.
Uzbekistan.
Thank you.
How do you know that? What's going on, Tony?
I promise you he looked it up.
Wow.
Am I right, Tony? You did look it up, yes? Tony won't say? Tony, yes. How did you know?
Thanks, Tony.
Uzbekistan, it came up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the other, back to my list real quick. Oh, I don't know what I did with it.
Tashkent, your vacation is a click away. I don't think so.
Well, it's not expensive. You know what I mean? So you have that. Tunis is on the list right after that, after Tashkent. And
Tashkent is the capital of Uzbekistan.
Yeah. What can we see when we go? I
right
might
there on
need
the screen.
a Mark Tom. What?
It's on the screen.
Oh, there it is. That looks like a pretty cool place. What's wrong with you, Kim?
I was judgy at the beginning, and now perhaps not.
Yeah, I think it could be really great.
At least right around the sports stadium, at least, right?
There are a lot of places that are not expensive that can be good. There's also on the list next is Lusaka. Lusaka. I don't know to tell Kim where Lusaka is.
I don't know where that is. Let me get one more picture of Tashkent. Look at that.
Okay.
Pretty nice, right?
I think
they got a canal and a bridge and the.
Could we put together a group to go to Uzbekistan and see Tashkent?
Tashkent.
The 10 best hotels of 2023 in Tashkent. There's a Radisson there. There's a Praga hotel.
What is that, Tony? A train station?
Subway station, yeah.
Station. Wow.
That's stunning. It's stunning. Honestly. God, look at that
dome.
Look at the dome and the artwork. Wow. That is nice. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind rocking an Uzbek trip. And I mentioned Lusaka. Lusaka's in Zambia. I mean, we went to Africa and stayed in a lot of these cities that are, really inexpensive and life ain't so great, but they're terrific tourist experiences nonetheless, and they need tourists there to help support them in some cases. But anyway, that's your story on the most expensive and the least expensive. This is an annual report from The Economist, if you want to read more.
I'm not thinking Lusaka looks like a great place to hang.
Is that right? No.
But hey, I could be wrong. Maybe they have great street food and really cool things going on there.
I don't know if I'd eat the street food.
Looks like maybe some shots from a movie that, you get sent somewhere and you don't want to go.
Well,
I mean,
I'd come from regular stock.
Yes, like maybe Clarence Thomas and I will go over because we're drawn to the,
Yeah.
I mean, this is actually, I have to tell you, that's very much the look of places that we went, like Tanzania, for example, when we were there. Yeah, so with the dirt, roads. Scott Rittenberg for the Global Tour Fund. Get me a T-shirt, says Scott.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, and thank you for the 10 spot in the super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. As we finish, is there anything else I need to acknowledge? Tom Gunn. Can you put Tom Gunn up there, Tony? Tom Gunn is my favorite gun. I'll put you up there myself. I don't need Tony. $20. How about it?
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Tom Gunn. Is there anybody else, Tony, do I need? Edward Lee, I can't wait to read it. By the way, what are your PRs? Your public relation people? Is that it?
I don't know what our PRs are.
Spencer Jaffe says
track and field, maybe personal records, because that's usually things.
Oh, of course, personal records. Very good PRs. Yeah, that's how we think PR because we're in that world. But
sports
personal
ball
records. Yeah. Very well done, Tony. Also, Spencer Jaffe for a 10 spot. Big shout out, Spencer. Loving you and loving everyone who is in the world of those who support us. This show continues. We can reach out and touch 19,000 subs, but we can't quite touch it yet. So thank you for sharing the show. Tomorrow, John Rothman joins us as the Trump travails grind on. We'll talk to John about that stuff. I'm also in a back and forth with my neighbor.
Uh-oh.
And I never thought, I'm like the easiest neighbor to get along with. I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't go into some kind of weird space, but I will share a couple of those details with you. So, After Party Live is going down right now with Kim and John. And we'll see you tomorrow right here.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thank you all who join us every day and support the show.
All the time. Bye-bye.
Until tomorrow.